Everyone's talking about peptides.
They are, man.
My social media, Jay, is blowing up, clearly because some of the research, but it's nonstop. But we're going to dive into it today. You know, the recent news about all those transitions back from class 1 to class 2 and going back to the compound pharmacies, getting away from the black market, right? So we're going to dive into what are these peptides? Who are they for? What are they really doing? Are they safe? Like, you name it. So I'm really looking forward to taking a dive.
When it comes to peptides, though, it's the same story, but new compounds. And what I mean by that is, you know, Brian, years ago, steroids and growth hormone were huge. I think they're still huge today, obviously. Okay. But back in the day, before they knew a lot about them, people were using them in the bodybuilding world,
right?
For athletic performance and so on. But knowing what you know now, today,
right?
Would you take steroids or growth hormone?
Well, I wouldn't then, but no, definitely not.
And I think it's because we know so much about them now. Well, when I say same story, new compounds, unfortunately, I think peptides fall into that same class. We'll get more into that in a little bit. With all the excitement around peptides, the one challenge that I have that kind of keeps me a little bit on pause on this one so far is that I'm not super excited about the widespread use and how people are using them and why. Do the benefits outweigh the risk? That's the question.
Yeah.
You know, I'll let you be the judge.
So here's my take on it. And I'm a layman when it comes to peptides. And I recognize that it's an amino acid chain, correct?
Yeah, it's correct.
And there's some synthetic form of it. But what I'm seeing and reading about is people having these miraculous results for basically changing their bodies.
Yeah.
Physically.
No, without a doubt.
If it's for muscle gain, weight loss, as we've learned with GLP-1, longevity, for injuries and repair.
These compounds represent like the ultimate in biohacking. And biohacking is huge right now.
So, Jay, I got to tell you, when you see all these results, right, all over social media, these remarkable results, people changing their bodies, losing weight, healing from injury, it's pretty tempting to want to try it.
So these compounds supposedly represent the ultimate in biohacking the body. You know, it's literally like having the ultimate cheat code in your favorite video game. And everyone wants to achieve body perfection. I totally get it. So people want to run farther. They want to perform better, but at what cost? Potentially exchange the healthier body for temporary vanity. And I stress temporary here.
Jay, when you say at what cost, so are you suggesting there are risks?
Yes, there are risks. Like anything, you're pushing back against biology to some degree. And you've got to understand that when you ask your body to do something that it wouldn't do naturally, you might have some challenges. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying these are all bad. I think these peptides make a lot of sense and have really amazing applications under the right medical supervision for the right reasons. Now, we're going to talk more and dive more into the pros and cons shortly, so just hang tight.
It's interesting because when you see the news of, it's going to this different class 2.
Right.
And more compound pharmacies producing them, getting rid of the black market like we touched on, one would assume, these must be safe. These must be okay.
You know, that's a really good point. Now, just to clarify that a little bit, when someone says that it's being changed from a class 1 to a class 2, it's still a drug.
Right.
It still requires medical supervision. It requires a prescription. It requires a pharmacy to fulfill it. The idea, though, that it goes from class 1 to class 2 makes it more accessible.
So it doesn't mean the safety and efficacy testing is done?
No. In fact, a lot of these peptides that are being marketed on today, they haven't fully completed human-based safety and efficacy studies yet.
Okay.
So there's still a lot more that we need to learn about these peptides.
Well, that's a huge fact to know.
100%.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So what are peptides?
So a peptide is an amino acid chain of anywhere from 2 to 50 amino acids, right? They're very specific, though. Your body produces peptides constantly, right? So, but the peptides we're talking about, the ones that are really popular, are synthetic versions or imitators of peptides that your body naturally produces.
Got it.
Now, these peptides, though, whether produced by your body or synthetically introduced, act as messengers. And these messengers signal the body to do something. Now, keep in mind, they're messengers, not builders. Now, what that means is while they may send a message, they don't necessarily perform the actual task. And the reason why I point that out, we'll cover a bit more in the show.
Okay. So what are they most commonly used for? What conditions?
So the peptides that are most popular on the market today, there's three primary reasons why most people are using them. One, hormone release, things like human growth hormone or IGF-1, which is insulin growth factor 1, or even tissue repair. Now, the tissue repair one is the one where it gets most of the popularity, things like BPC 157 or TB 500, because people are using it to repair and recover faster.
Right.
And they do this by cell regeneration or increasing the number of cells or cell growth. And then also the most popular that everybody knows is weight loss, things like GLP-1.
Okay, so let's jump into how they work exactly, the pros and the cons. But before we do that, GLP-1 specifically, I know we had a whole dedicated episode to that, but maybe let's take a dive into that as well so we could recap it.
So I know we had a whole show dedicated to GLP-1, and we primarily focused on GLP-1. We really didn't get to the other compounds that are being used within this weight loss strategy.
Right.
So for GLP-1, which is the most popular for sure, it's literally, I think the statistic now is 1 out of every 7 people are using a GLP-1 related drug.
Just crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, okay, so a GLP-1 drugs, they help with slowing gastric emptying time, reducing appetite, and they turn down food noise, so that addictive calling, that craving that you're getting. Now, there's another one, though, that's really popular now is GIP.
Okay.
GIP is another agonist. It helps to improve blood sugar. It encourages the use of fat for energy, meaning it helps to liberate or convert fat to energy. Now, there's another one that I guarantee most people haven't heard of yet, or you're just starting to hear about it now, which is something called glucagon.
Okay.
It helps to support thermogenesis, or the activation of brown adipose tissue in the body so that we're burning fat as an energy source. Now, the bottom line is whether they're individually or in combination with each other, they help to suppress appetite, increase fat loss, balance blood sugar, and turn down food noise.
Okay, Jason, so for weight loss specifically, what are the most popular peptides?
Okay, so there are 3 really popular peptides. The first is semaglutide,
right?
Trademark name Wegovy and Ozempic. There's some off-label use that you can get mail order. I would highly recommend you be seriously careful about off-label mail order versions. You want to make sure they have high purity, they come from a reputable source.
Always.
You should never do any of these without medical supervision. I keep saying that. It's really super important. But semaglutide targets the GLP-1. It's known as a single agonist, okay?
Okay.
Then you have tirzepatide. This is Mounjaro. That's the trademark name, and then there's other off-label mail-order versions as well. Now, this targets GLP-1, but also targets GIP.
Okay.
Now, this is known as a dual agonist. Now, what's interesting is the statistics are showing that tirzepatide has slightly better results than semaglutide. That could arguably be that you're approaching 2 different pathways to fat loss. Totally get it.
Okay.
The new one on the scene right now that's getting all the attention, but unfortunately has the least amount of research and the most concern in my book is called retatrutide.
Reta, I hear about it all the time.
Dude, a.k.a. Reta, a.k.a. Triple G.
Okay.
Now, it's known as a triple agonist. It's addressing GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon. Now, here's the challenge, though. All the research on it right now, it's definitely not FDA approved. It's only what are called in preclinical basis from a study standpoint, meaning they've really only done research in rats.
Oh, wow.
So for me, I don't know that that's enough to make sense of using this particular drug at this time. I'll tell you why, because it is commonly known that just because you can get a result in a rat does not mean that you're going to get a result in a human, especially when it comes to safety and protocol. I mean, for me, I would be very cautious right now with Reta.
Of course not. And it's just evident. People just want the next best thing. I don't think they even care.
Well, my concern is not with whether or not it works. Clearly, the results that people are getting, you can't deny.
Right.
They're getting results. They're able to put on muscle and do different things, and they're also able to lose fat. The challenge that I have is the safety.
Right.
That's my biggest concern, is what really is going to be the outcome.
That's a great point. The results are there, but the long-term safety, I don't think people are really taking a serious look.
No.
Okay, so you cannot deny the fact there are some pros here. People are losing a lot of weight. It's helping a lot of people.
No doubt. So I agree. You can't deny the fact they're losing weight. They're losing fat for sure. I think the most important thing about these particular weight loss peptides is they're turning down food noise, because most people succumb to that addictive food behavior and they're eating things they shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to get rid of that. Those cravings are the biggest thing that wreaks havoc over anybody's weight loss program. Now, it temporarily rewires your brain and reduces that pleasure reward that you get from food, so that food doesn't become that reward mechanism. And so turning down that food noise is really key. It also helps with insulin sensitivity and blood sugar, which is absolutely imperative at achieving a really healthy weight loss goal.
Okay, so those are some meaningful pros.
Yeah.
Now, what about the cons? What are the negatives?
Okay, so unfortunately, with every good story, there's a bad story too. And I would tell you this is the downside of these particular weight loss peptides.
Okay.
First of all, yes, it's true you're going to lose fat. Can't deny it. The problem is that most of these people aren't modifying their diet. They're not eating enough calories while they're on these particular peptides. And as a result, they're also losing muscle. And so ultimately, the goal, I think, in any weight loss program is not just about losing weight, but it's about achieving a certain shape that they feel comfortable with. And so while I would tell you these are good, there are some challenges here because losing muscle is one of the most metabolically active tissues in the body. We need it. It's imperative for overall health and well-being.
Sure.
Now, you lose muscle, you're going to lose energy, and it's going to negatively affect your overall health. Now, there are some other side effects, right? Things like nausea, stomach discomfort, severe constipation, like I said, loss of energy, pancreatitis, and other digestive challenges. Now, there's also a broad warning of the potential of thyroid C-cell cancer. Now, I'm not entirely sure how common that really will actually be, but the fact that it's even there as a precaution kind of gives me a little bit of pause. One of the biggest cons that I have, though, besides all of these other obvious health concerns, is that it rewires the whole pleasure center in the brain. Now, while that's good when it comes to rewires that whole association.
Help me understand that when you say rewire.
Okay, so chemically, it's, I guess you could say, dulling the whole reward part of food. So thereby it turns down the noise. Now, that's the good part. The bad part is it's dulling other emotional elements too. It tends to lead, in some cases, to emotional flattening. It affects our dopamine levels, right? And so this whole pleasure motivation scenario is being flattened. And so I think that can become a challenging. Is it possible that depression is a side effect? And that's a big concern for me.
Okay, so we covered GLP-1 at great length and a lot more than we did on the previous episode. That was incredible. So now, away from weight loss, a lot of these other need states that people are going after, the most popular peptides right now for muscle growth, performance enhancement.
So the two most popular right now for muscle growth specifically are CJC 1295 for growth hormone release, tesmorelin for growth hormone release, and boosting IGF-1 levels. To get more specific, these two peptides, CJC 1295 and tesmorelin, primarily work by stimulating, or I should say signaling, the pituitary gland to produce growth hormone, or IGF-1, which is insulin growth factor 1.
Okay, so hearing that, just like with GLP-1,
right?
What are the positives? What are the negatives?
So the pros is you're stimulating the release of growth hormone and IGF-1, so you're going to grow and repair muscle. No question about it. Recovery in the gym, rebounding after a workout, putting on the muscle gains, no question those are good things. Also, by stimulating the release of growth hormone, you reduce body fat and increase muscle. So you're trading that whole fat for muscle scenario. So that's actually a positive. Now, the cons, though, are anytime you help healthy tissue repair and grow, it's possible to also stimulate or grow unhealthy tissue,
right? Like
such as cancer or tumor activity. So the growth of cancers and the growth of tumors are potentially possible.
And that was the whole buzz with growth hormone
100%.
Before peptide was even a word years ago.
Well, so that's the very reason why at the very beginning, if you remember, I just said at the show, I was like, same story, different compounds.
That's right.
Right? We're getting more technical right now on how we're getting it done, but the results and the risks still exist. And I'm not trying to harp on just the risks. I'm trying to make sure that we're balanced in our approach here.
Okay, and that's fair.
Yeah.
Now, what about injury? What about repair and recovery?
Okay, so there's two particular peptides, and these are the funnest to talk about because I'd say these are the most widely spread used peptides today. So these two peptides are BPC 157. That BPC stands for body protective compound. It is a synthetic version of what your body naturally produces in the gut. And then you have TB 500, which imitates thymosin beta 4, which is what is naturally produced by the body. The combination of these two, in the name of Hugh Jackman,
right?
These are actually known as the Wolverine stack.
That's
and
right.
So they've gained a lot of popularity because of that name.
Okay, so Jason, why are people so excited about using these for injuries, for recovery?
Okay, so bottom line, whether people are using them for the right reasons or not, they work. Your repair time or your recovery time from post-surgical or post-injury is rapidly increased. You can definitely put on more muscle. There's no doubt that the results are there.
There's a but coming.
Yeah, there's a but. The challenge is that there is a downside that you at least have to consider. And this is where I recommend everyone, right? There is a time and a place for everything. And I think that there's a good reason to use something, and maybe there's a bad reason or a good reason not to use something.
With doctor's guidance, prescription, oversight, is that the best way to approach peptides? Or even without all the studies done, you'd stay away?
So first of all, I would never recommend using any of these peptides from a mail order source, first
Okay.
of all. And the reason why I say that is you cannot be sure of their purity. You can't be sure that they were regulated. You could get all kinds of different counterfeit materials and so forth. You always want to do this under proper medical supervision so that someone is monitoring your health and your progress. But I would also tell you that if you're using it strictly for vanity purposes, I would say pay close attention to the risks you're taking because they may not actually be worth it.
So how do these peptides work specifically?
Okay, so these two together, known as the Wolverine stack, activate something called vascular endothelial growth factor. Now, what does that mean? It just simply means that it helps to support in the building process or the process of angiogenesis, where you're building new blood vessels that specifically target areas of injury in the body.
Got it.
Right? So you're modulating the NO pathway, the nitric oxide pathway. So you're ultimately creating increased blood flow to areas of injury.
Got it.
Now, why this is important, right? It's kind of like it's creating the ultimate superhighway for delivery of resources that are needed to actually initiate the repair. Remember when I said that these peptides are signalers?
Right.
They're not builders. So what these peptides are doing is they're signaling the body to build this blood flow, build this superhighway, but you still need to have the resources available to help do the repair. Now, what's really cool about BPC 157 is that it targets a very acute injury, a local injury. TB 500 looks at the body more broadly.
Oh.
So it kind of looks at a more systemic approach to healing. So they work together. That's why they honestly stack them together, because it'll work locally and broadly throughout the body.
Okay, that's super interesting.
Okay.
And now, pros and cons, I imagine there's both.
So the pros are that it stimulates a process called cell proliferation. Now, what does that mean? It promotes cell growth. That's kind of like that repairing cycle, right? You're promoting new cells to be grown for repair. It also promotes post-workout recovery, potentially leading to faster muscle gains. And if correctly used under the proper medical supervision, it could actually be a really good tool.
Now, what about the cons?
So there are downsides, right? So when you have an injury and you promote angiogenesis or cell proliferation or cell growth, it makes sense that you will improve healing to that injury.
Okay.
There's no question.
That sounds like it sounds like a pro.
It is a pro, but hold on.
Okay.
Cancer is a wound that never heals, right? And that's what it's characterized at. And so your body will recognize that as an injury. And it will also promote cell growth and also angiogenesis to build blood flow, to deliver resources directly to these unhealthy cells, these cells that you don't necessarily want to grow, such as tumor and cancer cells. And so that becomes a pretty serious challenge. Now, it also helps with fibroblast proliferation. Now, what does that mean? It enhances abnormal scarring. And so those are challenges as well. Now, it could also aggravate autoimmune conditions. These are all things that have been identified in research as the cautionary tale here. Now, I'm not saying that these are absolute, but the fact is that research is showing that this is possible.
Go back to the cancer cells. So if people have undetected cancer cells laying dormant,
yes,
this can just, rapidly increase what could potentially be a bad situation to a horrific situation.
Well, in truth, I think it's scientifically proven that we all have cancer cells or precancerous cells
dormant
in our bodies. Well, whether they're dormant or not, you have them in your body. Now, you don't necessarily develop a condition of cancer or a metastasized cancer.
Right.
Your body is able to keep it at bay. When you put something in there that promotes it, that becomes a problem.
Well, that's the risk.
That's the risk.
Now, who would take that risk?
Well, it really depends, man. I think people will take a lot of risks for vanity, unfortunately. And that's where I find it the most concerning.
Well, I know you're not done yet, but you've already changed my mind.
Well, here's the deal. I don't want to come off as the big naysayer on peptides here, but I want to make sure that people are aware of the pros, but also the risks that come along with those pros, and that understand that there are proper ways to do this under proper medical supervision, using the proper regulated peptides, delivered the right way under a doctor who will manage and watch and take care of you properly.
I mean, that sounds like the methodical approach to it.
100%.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
My friend Susan,
Yep.
we walk our dogs together. She might be early to mid 70s. She took a fall. She horrifically hurt her knee, a couple
Right.
surgeries. Her son's a former professional football player, NFL.
Yep.
He was on peptides for knee injuries by a doctor, probably a sports specialist, had
Sports medicine doctor more than likely.
miraculous results, and she went on it for the first time. It was the Wolverine stack, believe it or not. So I don't know how it took yet, but she told me she was very excited to get some relief. And she was asking, like, what do you think? What do you know? But she was at a point where, like, I'm desperate for anything.
Okay, so you bring up two prime examples that justify the use of these peptides in a really special way. One is a professional athlete. His livelihood depends on his performance. And so if he gets injured, he has to repair quickly, right? There's another argument for repairing quickly, too. You spend less time on pain mitigation, things like opioid painkillers and so forth, because your body recovers, and we know what epidemic that's caused.
Sure.
But in someone who's a senior citizen or older, right? I think the statistic is that if they fall and suffer a hip fracture, that they die within 2 years, and it's because they become inactive. Now, imagine for a second we could turn that on its head.
I heard that recently.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's disturbing.
Well, it is, and it's sad, actually. And it's mainly due to the inactivity. They lose muscle tone. They lose health. Again, muscle is a very biologically active tissue. So there's these cascade of events that can happen that justify the use of these peptides in a very, under medical supervision, can make all the sense in the world. So if someone has a hip fracture, they can use BPC 157 and TB 500 together, heal and recover incredibly fast, gets them back in motion and activity much quicker.
Right.
Right? Here's where I don't think it's a good idea.
Go ahead.
Someone who's 24 or even 30 years old, they're in the gym, they want to put on muscle gain. They just want to throw on some more muscle. They're not even a paid athlete. They're just doing it for the sake of vanity. That's when I'm actually...
Yeah, at what price?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're taking too big of a risk for what is arguably a temporary vanity-based result. And what I mean by temporary is if you stop taking the peptides, I promise you, you're pushing against biology. Your body's only going to hold on to what it can naturally. And that goes back to the same stories of steroids and growth hormone. When a lot of those pro bodybuilders would stop taking them, they became lesser of a person than they were before.
No question.
Okay. One of the things that I've actually been, I've struggled by is I look on social media.
Okay.
And there are people promoting the use of these peptides.
Yes.
And they're using extraordinary stories to justify their use, such as Jeremy Renner when he had that horrific accident that nearly took his life.
Right.
And they would justify it for the average person. And I'm thinking to myself, no, Jeremy Renner was the prime example of why you would use these peptides. He was literally in the worst circumstance possible, on his deathbed, injured beyond nearly almost repair. But yet these peptides were miraculous in giving him the healing that he needed so that he could recover more quickly. I would say 100% the risk is worth it, or the benefit is worth the risk. But again, back to a 24 to 30-year-old. I was just in on a retreat weekend.
Okay.
With a bunch of men, and it was a leadership weekend, and I'm sitting across the table at dinner with a 24-year-old, and he's asking me, so Dr. Jason, why I want to use BPC 157 and TB 500, and I want to put on more muscle, and it's working for me. And I'm like,
there you go.
I understand. I said, how much do you get paid to put on muscle? And he's like, I don't. And I'm like, okay, is it your job to put on muscle? And he's like, no. And I said, have you considered any of the risks associated with it? And he's like, are there risks?
Right.
When those questions come back that way, I mean, it's not your profession. You're not getting paid to do it. Not that I'm saying that those two things justify it.
I understand.
Right? But the reality is that they're on social media, they're promoting this ideology to a younger generation as the ultimate body hack. Well, guess what? There are risks. You need to know what they are. And if you're willing to accept the risks, God bless you. I hope you come out on the right side of that.
That's a really, really great take. And I can't disagree with you, to be honest.
Absolutely. Now, just to be clear, though, under proper medical supervision,
sure,
adjusting levels to maximize results and side effects, making the necessary changes to your diet, I would say that there are reasons why peptides make sense. But for vanity, the jury's still out, and the science hasn't proven beyond a shadow of a doubt to me that the risk is worth the benefit.
So, Jason, earlier on, you mentioned that these peptides are actually signalers, not builders. Yeah. Can you break that down again? What does that really mean?
Okay, so when these peptides go in, when you put these peptides into the body, they signal different aspects of your body to do things. They do not themselves actually do the work. So, for example, if you stimulate growth hormone, your body isn't automatically going to grow because in order to grow muscle, it needs resources. It needs protein, amino acids, and other things to build muscle, right? If it is a ligament or tendon that needs repair due to injury or surgery, you need things like collagen peptides or proline or glycine or other important amino acids that are necessary as resources. Remember, I was telling you about the peptides that develop or build a superhighway to deliver resources. Well, if you have no resources being delivered, the ultimate result of building won't even happen. So for the individuals taking peptides, not changing their diet, not increasing protein intake, not making sure that they're delivering to the body the proper resources, you're not even going to get the results.
So
anyway.
what a waste.
What a waste. You'll take all the risk without even the reward, or at least without most of the reward. These resources include something as simple as increasing your protein intake.
I would say.
Keep in mind, muscle and tissue repair and recovery rely on protein. You got to deliver these valuable essential amino acids for building muscle tissue, ligament tissue, stuff like that. Different types of amino acids for different tissues, such as connective tissues, ligaments, and tendons. You need things like proline and glycine.
Okay.
Those are most dominant in collagen peptides.
Yes.
Now, those are not muscle-building peptides. Collagen peptides are very different. They're loaded full of proline and glycine that are important for connective tissue, but not muscle.
Although I will add, there are some good, strong beef protein isolates out there that are naturally rich in proline, glycine. So you're going to get that for the connective.
So when you use
collagen building and connective tissue.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you use an animal tissue protein like that, like a beef protein, totally makes sense too, because it's containing more than just what whey will do. But I still believe, though, from a biological activity perspective, protein, specifically whey protein, is by far and away the best result. Now,
what else?
Other nutrients like vitamin C. You can't make collagen or you can't properly construct connective tissue without vitamin C.
Okay.
Other basic minerals or vitamins are things like zinc and iron and et cetera.
Yeah.
There's so many different things. But the reality is, if you don't supply your body with a diet rich in these important resources, you will not get the benefit out of the peptides you hope to.
To recap all of this, right?
Yeah.
And we covered a lot of need states, a lot of different peptides. Overall pros?
Okay, so the overall pro is this. If it is under the proper medical supervision, using regulated, properly manufactured peptides, they can be extremely effective, especially in areas where they are needed, such as injury recovery if you're a professional athlete.
Right.
If you're a senior citizen or someone that has slowed progression, or I should say, your healing time takes longer,
right?
I think it makes total sense. I could even argue someone going in for a ACL reconstruction that isn't even a professional athlete might even make sense to use BPC 157 for a limited period of time.
So extreme scenarios.
Extreme scenarios. So, I mean, I really truly think that for trauma, for healing, for injury, it can be...
It makes sense.
It can totally make sense. As long as you're under proper medical supervision and having the right oversight and taking care of yourself.
Okay, that's fair. And now the flip side of that coin, I imagine, not to sound cliche, the negatives might outweigh the positives here.
So in most of the cases, unfortunately, I believe at this time, with the lack of scientific evidence, with the lack of conclusive safety data, I think some of the risks for the average user, for the one that's not using it as the circumstances I laid out, I think the risks outweigh the benefit. You know, things like cancer growth or abnormal cell growth in the body. I grow concerned. Now, I will tell you that people are literally taking medical advice from a social media personality.
It's scary.
It is scary. And I think that that's not well advised. I honestly think, in large part, most people are playing Russian roulette with their body with a total, complete disregard for the risks associated, all for the sake of vanity. And it's for that reason, I would say, huge caution.
How long before the long-term studies come out? Years? Well, that maybe you could change your opinion on some of these positions.
Well, so here's the deal. I mean, almost none of them have any human data.
But aren't they starting to accumulate that? Right. Aren't they going to clinical trial?
Oh, 100% they are, but nothing has been finished yet. I mean, like, for example, retatrutide,
right?
They've only got preclinical data. And they're basing all the benefits on preclinical data that are done on rats. Now, here's the interesting thing about preclinical data. They take a rat, they chemically alter that rat to become obese, then treat it with a chemical to see if it loses fat.
Yeah.
It's not a real world scenario.
Right.
It's a total artificial scenario, and it's in an animal or a being that is nowhere near the complexity of a human body.
Right.
And as a result, I don't know that you can base the outcome for you from a safety and health perspective.
The directional outcomes.
Yeah, it's just not. So most of these peptides are in preclinical situations. Some of them only have 1, maybe 2 human clinical trials, and I would say that's still not enough. We need conclusive safety data to say that widespread use makes sense.
So I'm probably asked the question, but so how long for these clinical studies to be completed?
I would say within the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see a lot more research.
That's a ways out.
It is a ways out, but you know what? Here's the deal. In the grand scheme of things, Bri, if I were to ask you as a 25-year-old, and I told you 5 years, you'd say that's forever. If I'm asking you today, you would look back and go, wow, 25 years ago was yesterday.
Right.
Right? Time flies by, and I would think your health is worth it. Trust me, if you're a 25 or 30-year-old listening to this, I promise you, what you think is important today will not be important tomorrow. So in a few short years, you're going to completely change your opinion of what's really important. I don't think taking these risks are worth it unless there's a justifiable circumstance, such as a severe injury. Because I could argue that the reduction in the need for pain mitigation because of an expediency in recovery, I think totally makes sense.
Fair. Wow, that was awesome.
Okay, so one more thing. This is an important point.
Okay.
There are people on social media marketing some of these peptides, specifically BPC 157, in a capsule. Yeah, don't buy that. That's a fraud. Think about it. These are amino acid chains. You put them into the digestive system. Your digestive system is designed to break down amino acid chains and peptides and proteins into their amino acids. You're literally destroying the very peptide that you're putting in the capsule. Currently, right now, the only stable and accurate way to use a peptide is in injectable format.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
This is what I reach for on the way to the gym. Aonic Build. It's a 3-in-1 muscle support supplement that makes staying consistent way easier. You get creatine for lean muscle support, HMB to help with muscle retention, and beetroot extract to support strength and power. All in one stick. I love that it has 0 added sugar, no artificial colors, and actually tastes refreshing. It just fits into my routine without overthinking it. No mixing multiple supplements, no extra steps. If you're training and want something simple that supports your goals, this is an easy add to your routine. Easy to throw in my bag, easy to stay consistent with.